I'm John Kaiser in Vancouver, May 26, 2018 at the Metals Investor Forum. I am talking with Brad Baker of Mineral Mountain Resources. Welcome to Vancouver, Brad.
Thank you, John.
So Brad, you guys are just starting the second round of drilling in a 12-hole program at the Rochford project in South Dakota, where your goal is to find another Homestake. During your talk today, you mentioned that in 2001 they shut down mining of Homestake, ultimately irrevocably, so that it's now a NASA neutrino hunting facility. But you said there were 11 million ounces still left at depth. 11 million ounces, if it's 8 grams per ton, is a staggering amount of gold. Will this gold ever be attempted to be retrieved from Homestake?
Well, I'd have to qualify that first. It was a survey done by Roscoe Postal, and it wouldn't be to today's 43101 standards. So there would be a cost for them. They primarily took the known and extrapolated down to the deepest known and made some assumptions. No, this property no longer belongs to any mining company. It's been turned over to the government, and I believe at the depths they're at to refurbish it and get it up and going again. I don't believe it will go back into production.
Now the standby target on the Rochford project, you see this banded iron formation keel plunging 1,500 meters, that puts it, 1,000 meters vertical. You have just been drilling away at the upper 300 meters. There is a whole hole that nicked something way down deep. This current 12-hole program, how far down the plunge is it going to wander over the next few months?
That's a great question, John. What we have seen is at depth there's an increase in arsenopyrite, and there's a direct relationship that we now see between the concentration of that as well as the gold grade. So our next hole, the fourth hole that we'll be drilling of the 12-hole program, will be vertically 100 meters below our third hole. So we are going deeper, but we're not going down plunge as of yet. We're still trying to identify the actual keel position of the canoe, where in the Homestake model, that's where the home run lies. So it doesn't necessarily have to be drilled at great depths to start seeing those kind of grades. We're at the upper tail portion where there's always inconsistencies of the Homestake ledges. That's what we've seen as well. Our grades in our first 3 holes were comparable or exceeded Homestake in their early discovery of the 9.9 million ounce 9 ledge. So we are still identifying the geology before we try and see what the size of this is going to be. That being said, our first 3 holes gave us some very exciting information on how to identify exactly where to drill going forward, and that will be done through downhole EM survey, a 3-band EM survey that will tell us where graphite is. You would think you want to find the sulfides, but the graphite is a known contact and is very important because the shear zone is not linear. It's folded all over the place. It'll outline it for us, so drilling will be a higher rate of success and less expensive going forward for us.
So this next hole, this first hole in the resume program, this is almost a geology mapping hole, and you're going to do your downhole geophysics to look around and see where exactly this keel is. And it's when you start drilling hole 5 and 6, that's when the market should start holding its breath?
No, this still has potential to intersect the higher grade material. On surface, while we were not drilling, we identified if we step back to the east, there's a higher concentration on surface of the arsenopyrite, and that lines up with what we've seen drilling. So this still, the hole 4 still has a tremendous potential to intersect commercial grade gold over robust widths is what our goal is. But the advantage is we're gonna run it a little bit longer to give us a 3D picture of what's actually happening underground. So it's a two-pronged benefit of this fourth hole.
What sort of combination of gold grade range and interval range do you want to see to tell you we've got a Homestake style ledge? Now we no longer have to keep vectoring for geology to find it. Now we just start stepping out with 25-meter holes and follow this zone to whatever its limits are.
Yeah, that's very important for us. We know that Homestake, within a typical 30-meter wide interval of mineralization, would have ore grade over on an average of 4 to 5 meters. And people are surprised that it's that narrow, but there's a huge vertical extent to this as well. So if we had 4 or 5 meters of anything better than 5-6 grams per ton, we know we're in the system. And within that system, then you can get those 10 meters, 10 grams or bigger. Homestake does have some spectacular zones that are obscene with gold, and you see samples at the mining museums. Those are right at the bottom of the keel. They're a little harder to find, but we want to find the mass that's going to provide the 4, 5, 6, 10 million ounces of gold first.
Now the standby, as I understand it, is one of these folded keels on the property, and let's say, heaven forbid, you drill a couple dozen holes and all you find is stuff similar to what was near surface, which is not really worth developing. Does that kill the Rochford property, or is this just one of several possible Homestake type ledge settings?
That's a great observation because it's contiguous land package. It's 17 kilometers long, and we have a minimum 4 of these multi-million ounce targets and obscene amount of targets that could be 500,000 to 1 million ounces. It should not be seen, this drilling, as that's our project, the Rochford project. It's the standby project within Rochford, which is a district scale. One area will not determine the success of the whole area. It's akin to Timmins, where you can have a 20 million ounce deposit, but one beside it might only be 750,000 ounces or whatnot. So really, we are confident in the district view of what we have.
There was a golf tournament a few weeks ago where a couple of young Turks went up against some older folks who have perpetually jet black hair. How did that work out?
Well, Mr. Jet Black Hair there did very well, as he always does. Very good with the short game, being short, I assume, closer to the ground. But yes, the young bucks weren't very good. We'll leave it at that.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. I'm in Vancouver at the Metals Investor Forum talking with Brad Baker. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, John.